Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the practice of being human. I'm so glad to be here. Happy Friday. So, last Friday, was my birthday, and I turned 56. Double nickels plus a penny, as my daughter Elle so brilliantly put it. And I found that birthday to be significant, similarly to my double nickels birthday. I felt that to be as well. I think my 50s continue to hone me, challenge me, stretch me, grow me as I am learning new things all the time. And the more I learn, the less I know. But then there are those things that I just know deep down, and those are becoming more and more clear to me. And so, this invitation that I think birthdays bring to pause is a really important one because I think we do have a tendency in those invitations, we're going to look back and then we're going to naturally look forward, look ahead, and then to take stock of what has life been teaching me quietly or maybe very loudly, very insistently. And also just the knowing, the awareness, the aliveness, the sense of gratitude around being here for another birthday, and to recognize that no day is guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed to us. And as my meditation every day really focuses around this is a new day, and it's a new day that we've never seen before. So, how do we want to engage with it? How do we want to meet it? How do we want to dance with it? So, life, it's a wild and wonderful journey and ride, and it is not easy. And in fact, I think being human can be really hard at times. And so, how do we meet this very rich and beautiful gift of what it is to be in this world? And to, as I've been fortunate in the path that I have been on, to be married to my favorite human, Craig Brummel, for 27 years, and then to have these four young adult children, Elle, Ben, Leo, Mora, who are all teaching me every day what it is to love and what it is to learn how to love differently. Because the way I've known how to love and the way I maybe needed love and how I've maybe approached loving is very much colored by my lens of what I think is needed and important. And I'm learning over and over that that's not the case. And I think this goes along with that question of when you're thinking about your young adults or your partner or even friends, siblings, instead of believing you know them completely and wholly and absolutely, to really be curious about them and to keep getting to know them and to be curious about it in a way of wonder, of they're continuing to evolve and grow and shift and change. And so, how do you meet them in a way that you make space for that versus believing you know all things and you just operate from your default? You go through the motions. I've always believed that I love well and I love big, but I think that what I'm learning is that my way of loving and my language of love is it's getting some work and it's being challenged a little bit and it's growing. And so I just want to start today by really stating that this whole episode is in light of an exchange I had with one of my adult children, Leo, and I'll share more as we go, but it really kind of stopped me in my tracks. And it gave me insight and clarity that I was in so much gratitude to have, but it was also like I was on my knees at the same time, right? That's what truth, I think, does in relationship is that when we're able to be honest and transparent and we can speak our truth to another and not in a way that is harsh or hurtful per se, but in a way that is true. And to be able to receive that, what a gift, right? And I think all of our relationships need more truth. And I think we want to make more space for that because I think, especially with our young adult children, I'm not sure they know we can handle it. And I think sometimes it comes out sideways because they're pushing away, they're separating, they're individuating, and we aren't quite cluing in sometimes. And it can feel almost like, hey, you're not appreciating what I bring to the table. But instead, more than anything, they're saying, hey, I know you love me. And thank you for all the things. And, there are things that were missed, but we're good. And in order to connect with me and find that connection that you so desire, it's going to be a little different than the kind of connection you think we need to have in order to have that bond. Craig said the same thing around this, but I don't know if you guys have seen The Bear. It's a great show. But anyway, The Bear is, oh my God, it's exquisitely done, I think. And it's a story about a chef in a restaurant and all the relationships that go along with that and a coming of age for this young man and just a shedding and a growing. But anyway, everyone in the show in the kitchen would always say, herd chef or herd. But the herd is to just say, I don't need to say more, right? And I tend to be more verbal, but instead to just be like, heard, got it, thank you, and not inquire and go further and bombard them with questions, right? But just heard. And I think this goes along with this whole thing around less holding on and more trust and less certainty, more curiosity, less data, less information, less needing to know, and more allowing. I just think all of that lends itself to a different relationship and more space for us and for them to become exactly who they are. I feel like I'm getting this loud and clear, not just from my young adult children, but also from my postmenopausal body that is very much communicating with me to say, hey, you know what? We need a new language. There's a whole new language being translated here. And pay attention, notice, become more fluent in this new language. Loosen the grip on who you've had to be or thought you needed to be or who you've been to open up to who you are today. And what fits you today doesn't, it's not the same as what fit you before, figuratively and literally, right? Making room for someone that I am still getting to know. And that is the gift, I believe, of these different seasons and ages and stages. We keep getting to shed some old identities and limitations and constraints, and we can keep stepping into more consciousness, more awareness, more knowing. And oh my God, it's gorgeous. And it's also fucking hard. So it's not for the faint of heart. And this is why I do this podcast, because I share with you what I think is helpful and maybe what is on my heart and what seems to be kind of coming up over and over for myself, for my clients. And boy, have I had many conversations with women, moms especially, and dads around what it is to be at this age and stage with young adult kids and what it's asking of us. It's just different. So, my person, Craig Brummel, I want to mention him here because I did put out an Instagram post for my birthday, just sharing my insights, my learnings, my clarity around what I know to be true today and what's different in that way. And one of the things I want to offer here is I just feel incredibly blessed to have my person, Craig, who is CB. He has been my person for more than 27 years and has been my greatest companion on this one wild and precious journey. We have grown so much together and separately, right? And that's, I think, the beauty of this too, this whole codependency thing of like being connected and attached and needing for someone to be something for us to be okay. And the freedom of what is coming in our later years as a married couple and as one another's person, but being able to loosen our grip and to allow and then to also appreciate just so deeply what we can bring to one another, right? And to remind each other about our kids and say, you know what, let's step back, or hey, I think you probably overstepped there, and hey, you know what, it might be good to consider this. And maybe because just because we've done this for so long with them, maybe it's time we change some things up. But we're being humbled all the time. And I'm just grateful to him because he's been my safe place to land. And even when we have struggled, I have always felt, I think, deep in my very bones that he's my safe space. And he always is someone that I felt lived in integrity and had my back and was about doing whatever he felt was best and true for us. And those stretches and times where we were less connected, I still felt like he was CB. I've just been so lucky to feel like he's there and he cares and he wants to keep growing. And he always says to me, like, keep bringing me along with you, as you're continuing to learn and grow in these things. And by the way, I've been saying more of that to him too. Like, don't leave me behind, because he's doing his own thing. And it's just been fabulous. But there's a deepening and a widening that I think has been beautiful to experience and feel. And there's a steadiness that I just celebrate. So, yeah, in my post, I just talked about how it's just more beautiful than I ever imagined to be where I am and to be experiencing the relationships, the love, the life that I have. And it is not perfect, and it's not about perfect, but it's about noticing what is, and it's appreciating that, and it's cultivating that and watering those things that really deeply matter, and shedding the things that no longer are necessary or needed. And I think that's what this season is asking of all of us. It's not to stay the same. It's not to hold people still. I think it's about learning new ways to love. And I think that includes our partners as much as our young adult kids. I think it most especially falls to us and loving ourselves and being in relationship with ourselves and learning what that is truly for the first time in the way that I'm learning it. And I think my postmenopausal body is allowing for that. It's alive and well of like, hey, things are different now. And different isn't wrong or bad. And in fact, it's an opportunity here. So, how do we meet that? How do we shift? How do we work with it? How do we tend to that? Now knowing that something's different. And to me, if I kept trying to love my body or expect it to be what it's been up to now, it's like I'm doing a disservice. It's like I just keep telling me, keep communicating to me, keep giving me that data, and I'm listening. The wisdom of the body. And so I think that's true in relationship for all of us. Keep telling me, and I want to know. And I'm going to keep doing my best to integrate that. This is about becoming, I think, more than anything. I talk about parenting, I talk about humaning, I talk about what it is to be living this one wild, precious life. And I think this is so much about becoming. And I talk to my clients about this often of like, who are you becoming in the process of doing what you're doing? How are you showing up in your life today? And are you making choices and decisions and having an internal dialogue, right? Where's the internal landscape? Is that aligning with the person you want to become? Or is there a disconnect? Is there a misalignment? Let's pay attention to those things and let's keep becoming and keep aligning in a way that's of great service to us. So, we're going to talk about this becoming, and we're going to explore that today a little bit more because this is an awakening. And I like to think about our kids when they were little, and on a weekend, they'd come in the room, they'd be like, wake up, wake up. And we'd be like, oh my God, it's like 5 in the morning. It's still dark out. But there was this like joy and excitement and just this energy of like, wake up, it's a new day, let's go. And we'd be like, oh my God. But this is the awakening I'm talking about, right? It's like waking up to what is. And it's such a sweet place to be, even with all the heaviness and the hard and the struggle. There's still so much grace and goodness in the midst of it. And I just don't want us to miss it. Okay. So being awake. That is something that I think I am coming to recognize. It's like I keep waking up more and more. And as I wake up more and more, I shed more. I shed more layers. And I shed a little bit of the striving. I shed layers or identities of who I think I needed to be or need to be enough, to belong, to be the best, right? And underneath those layers is more freedom. And I think that's why we're here. We want to live more free and not free out of like in an amoral way or immoral way or whatever, like amoral meaning like without a sense of justness and kindness and love and goodness, but in a way that we're not being pulled down by these beliefs and these wounds and these stories, these behaviors, the coping strategies we've learned over time that keep us in these boxes and keep us small and keep us operating from when we were like little people. We're just big people operating like we're still little. And that's the emotional maturation that I so love in all of this. It's like as you wake up, you start to understand, like, oh, I'm no longer 10 or 12 or 5 or 15. And although I'm experiencing something that feels really scary and uncomfortable and uncertainty that is just surrounding all of this, it's like I'm learning how to lean into those things differently now. I'm learning how to be safe with those things. I'm learning how to show up with the courage now to say, yeah, I am really scared about this thing. Or, yes, to let go of this identity means I feel more exposed. But guess what? As I'm finding out even with my kids, exposure is really this, it's like a rawness to it, but it also gives us this opportunity to pay attention and to say, yeah, this doesn't feel great, but like it's like shedding a skin, right? And I think there's more tenderness to that as well, and can be softness, truth. And I just think all of this is helping us remember something, who we were before the world got its hands on us, right? Who we were before we learned parts of us that we needed to hide in order to get the love we needed, parts of us that we felt were not warmly embraced and might have gotten us in trouble or disconnected us from a feeling and sense of belonging with a group, whether in family or friends or whatever, right? And so we learn to kind of just hide those things and close those away and kind of shut them off and start to perform more and to behave in ways that protect and armor, but also like show up in the world in a way of how we've learned we think we need to show up to be okay. And it's more survival based, right? It's like we're being who we think we need to be for everyone else for us to be okay. And as I get older, I feel like I'm coming back to the knowing that I had before all this armor started to build. And I'm starting to remember. It's like coming home to me and the very essence of who I am. I'm not my behaviors. I'm not what I've done. I'm not what I do per se, as much as, yes, what I think, what I believe to be true, I do become that in many ways. But again, I want truth and I want to remember deep down who I am, which is love and freedom and light and infinite possibility. I'm here to make this world, I believe, a better place than when I came. And I'm going to do everything I can to share the gifts that I innately have. I want to develop those, I want to grow those. So, coming back to ourselves, coming back home, I think the beautiful thing is that life keeps sending us the curriculum, right? It's like it keeps sending us the teachers. And that can look like our kids, it can look like our partners, it can look like our work, it can look like just the world unfolding as it is. And so we know that the teachers, the curriculum can sometimes be painful, sometimes joyful. Sometimes it's wrapped up in the voice of our kids, or it's showing up in our bodies. Sometimes it's showing up in conversation with someone, in relationship. And all of it is just life continuing to say, hey, pay attention. Here it is. And you can show up for this and you can keep kind of moving through it, or you can choose to bypass this for now, but it's going to keep coming back around. So, how do you want to meet life? And are you awake enough to notice that it is really life that's saying, I'm here, like knocking on the door?